Work comp is interesting. It's very old. It actually came from the pirates that had a work injury compensation program. It was to entice workers to come to work for them as pirates.
Workers' compensation protects both employees and businesses. Without this insurance, employers would be liable for any costs associated with injuries. And employees that get injured on the job, it pays their medical and wage benefits if they have missed time from work.
It's a grand bargain between employers and employees. Employees get quick access to compensation, and employers avoid all those additional lawsuits. You have to have business. Business generates taxes and it pays for government. You can't have a business unless you have insurance. It just doesn't work.
Many of the insurers were threatening to pull out of the state because they couldn't make ends meet. Many of the employers couldn't get workers' compensation. And of course, the employees were being impacted.
New Mexico was the second most expensive state in the union for workers' compensation. Obviously not sustainable.
All we knew was it was getting worse every day. We didn't know where the end was.
We were literally teetering on collapse.
New Mexico had gone through gut-wrenching reforms twice before and they hadn't worked. With the work comp problem, we didn't really know how to solve it. We just knew we had to try something. Builders Trust was one of our attempts to take on our own problems, a group self-insurance for work comp coverage. The system was so difficult, we couldn't succeed either. It was that bad.
Several businessmen and women came to see me, and they were very concerned about what was happening. Tom Rutherford and I spent several days going through lists of names of people that we thought would serve on this committee.
Jeep Gilliland,
Neil Gonzalez,
Fabian Chavez, Murray Ryan,
Jamie Cook,
Don Leather,
Governor Carruthers.
It had to be something big. We had to do it all or nothing. Business and labor were primarily the ones who made up the committee. That's how I wanted it. They were the ones that were impacted. I didn't want to have lawyers involved in the committee. I didn't want to have doctors involved in the committee. They were the direct beneficiaries of what was going on. To a degree, they added to the problem.
There was resistance from the trial lawyers because there were other pieces in the act that were going to limit what they're allowed to make on a case and pull it out of the judicial system.
Traditionally, lawyers go duke it out in court. The employer and the employee are pitted against each other as opposed to operating somewhat in agreement. It's this constant clash. Clearly what we were doing wasn't working.
I contacted Marty Chavez, who was a state senator at the time, and I practically had to beg him to take the chairmanship. He looked at me and he said, Raymond, please don't do that to me.
It got tense and it got heated at times. Even to this day, I have trial attorney friends who won't speak to me. They thought I sold out the bar. There was a lot of headbutting. I just sat everybody down at the beginning and said, if you're not of good faith, we don't want you here.
There were a lot of fights. I was sure I was right many times and found out I was wrong.
It is important to note that when this legislation was passed, this was made for everybody.
If you put people at the table and they have good faith, looking for solutions, they will find them.
The work comp administration was created. It's a real court system, but it's a special court system. The theory here was that if we had a specialized court, they were focused on one topic. They could get really good at it. That was one key to it. The other was New Mexico Mutual.
It wouldn't have worked without the mutual. It just wouldn't have.
I am very proud of how New Mexico Mutual fulfills its mission by maintaining the integrity of the work comp system. We fight very hard to make sure that that balance that was struck so many years ago is stable. Protecting that balance is really key to success.
Mexicans, recognizing a problem, came together and solved it. And this is a great example of government doing its job.
System today is working well. I mean, we have a very competitive and active workers' compensation market.
Now you have affordable workers' compensation rates for employers, fair compensation for employees, and it honors the historic contract between employers and employees. Sometimes government works. We went from the second most expensive state in the union to the second lowest premiums in the country.
The rates went down. The reforms were more beneficial than anybody ever dreamed they would be. Almost instant success. It was miraculous. It was amazing. I've never seen anything like it.
This was really a big community effort, the whole community of New Mexico, if you will, coming together to solve a problem.
We want to be the place where people come to see how it's supposed to be done, and we were the place. People were coming from all around the country. Well, how did you do it?
When men and women of goodwill get together and put aside their partisan bickering, something good can come of it.